friends, it's UrsulasRevenge. A little over a week ago, I put out a poll to see what your general thoughts of the community were for the objectively best and worst Star Stable horses, both non-magic and magic breeds. With so many different breeds in Star Stable, there's going to be a lot of different opinions about what the best one actually is. And while most horses are worth getting, I'm wondering if we're getting to a point where maybe some of the older Gen 3s just aren't worth the 900 to 950 star coin price. It is great that Star Stable sometimes does these bazaars, especially when we can get some older Gen 3s at lower prices that may be a little bit more worth it, but that made me think, what makes a horse worth buying? And are there specific horses in Star Stable that really aren't worth it at all, not even on Bazaar? And that's why I came up with the survey to see what your most favorite and least favorite horses were, because I figured if it was least favorite, it'd probably be least worth it. And I want to answer the question, is any horse in Star Stable not worth buying? So let's go take a look at those results. We're going to go through all of them and kind of digest them a bit. Okay, I'm making this super big for us all to see. So out of 183 responses, thank you so much if you answered, by the way. This is extremely helpful and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Overall, the community felt with 20.2% of the votes that the Hanoverian was the best horse, followed by the Mustang with 19 votes and 10.4%, with third place being the Dutch Warmblood with 15 votes and 8.2%. Obviously, there are a lot of opinions between 183 different people, so this isn't like the most scientific quiz, I should probably just say. But with just over a fifth of all total votes to the Hanoverian, I think it is safe to say that the Hanoverian is one of the best horses in Star Stable, and I don't really even think that I need to do this video for the best because 100% Hanoverian is absolutely worth full price. It is one of the best horses in Star Stable. I completely agree with this result. It is just generally an enjoyable horse to be on. They have beautiful coat colors, and I really don't even need to gas this horse up any more than you guys already have. Mustang is also a fantastic horse if you don't have one already. They are beautiful, really well done, really great coat textures, with one of the most beautiful default manes in the game. Even if you're looking at the top 5 results with the Dutch Warmblood in 3rd, the Ardennes in 4th, and the Jorvik Wild Horse in 5th, all of these are really great horses that I would recommend to anybody, even if the Dutch Warmblood is not my favorite horse. I should also say that apparently I did put the new Andalusian in addition to the old Jorvik Andalusian on this survey. I didn't think that I did. I think we can just disregard this result just because when the survey originally came out, the Andalusian had not come out yet, so couldn't really give a fair assessment to the Andalusian. But maybe if we do this poll again in the future, we can see if there's some movement among the best and worst breeds. Now, as for the worst one, this one is a little bit more divisive. Overall, the community vote for the worst horse in Star Stable is the Akolteki with 13.7% of the votes, 25 actual votes, followed closely by the Curly Horse at 12.6%. This is not necessarily a surprising result. These two have been vying for the top worst spot the entire time the survey was live. What is surprising to me are the other two that have enough votes to actually have large enough wedges to fit the percents. At 12% and 22 of the votes, we have the Jorvik Frisian. This is a little bit surprising, but also at the same time not that surprising. I don't think that they are the worst of the worst, but with their history having been released and then changed after some community backlash and them not truly representing Frisians, I totally understand why they would appear in some capacity on the worst list. And at 6%, we have the Percheron, which I do also know is a popular least favorite horse. Though with them being newer than the other 3 on the bottom of this list, it is interesting to see a sort of mid-aged Gen 3 horse appearing at the bottom of the list. And now getting down to magic horses, this is also a very close race. There's a lot of favorites here. There's no overwhelming choice here like we had with the Hanoverians. At 9.3% and 17 votes, we have Bolt, the Halloween Robot Mustang. This was released last year, so it is one of the relatively newer magic horses, and with the addition of the special sound effects that you get when you're riding the horse, I think that it is a totally solid pick for best magic horse. In second place, we have Kima and Ryuma, the white and black dragon Frisians. They also have a special animation, whether they are in magic and non-magic form, which is a really cool detail. So far, it seems like the more unique features a magic horse has, the more well received it is by the community, which I totally understand and agree with. And in third place, we have Laverna, the Halloween Miscreant paint horse. I totally agree that this is a top horse. If I recall correctly, it was one of the first horses that had like special adornments. It's like Laverna walked so Kima and Ryuma could run, sort of thing. I could be wrong because I believe Hydron might have come first. And if we're going down that far, Brinkle also had like that quasi-unicorn horn situation going on. But Laverna really made it shine. And what's interesting too is I don't think Laverna was that well received when she first came out, just based off of like some of like the random textures. I do remember reading either a blog post or maybe it was one of their podcasts, but apparently there was sort of a miscommunication in the art direction for Laverna, where originally she was too creepy and then later on she just wasn't miscreant enough. But despite that setback, it is nice to know that she does still have a place among the community's heart. Looking at some of these other results, oh, you know what? Bronte was tied. So also at 8.2% tied for third place is Bronte, the Lightning Dutch Warmblood. Bronte was much higher earlier in the poll, so I was surprised to see Laverna had kind of like technically squeaked in a little bit ahead, but no, they're like legitimately tied. Also makes sense, being a Dutch Warmblood, which was also one of the top non-magic breeds, it totally makes sense that Bronte would appear here. The other magic Dutch Warmblood, which was Serenus, not quite as popular at 4.9%. And because I was nosy, I had to see if Audra was on here because Audra is my favorite magic horse, the Halloween Halflinger, who is surprised. Not too bad. Honestly, I'll take it. 7.1% of the votes, 13 total. And overall, the worst magic horse. This is another one that, again, we all had very strong feelings about this one. The number one worst magic horse in Star Stable at 20.2% is Solus, the pink feathery Irish cob. Not surprised. I think this one was also one that released before my time. I'm genuinely not really sure what they were thinking with this one. I'm not sure what they were going for. It's a little too clip art, in my opinion. And following up behind with 19.7% of the votes is Aldrock and Faramore, the red and green dragon Jorvik Frisians. On one hand, not surprising because the Jorvik Frisian did also appear on one of the worst breeds of Star Stable list. I do remember when Aldrock and Faramore came out, there was some conflicting opinions. Some people really liked them, some people liked how detailed they were, others thought they were just a little uncanny, a little strange, and it probably didn't help that they were also on the Jorvik Frisian model, which people already were not fans of. I was relatively new when these two magic horses came out, so I remember when they did come out, I was very excited about them because they just were really cool and unique. But it is also really cool to see how far they have come between the old dragon magic horses and the new dragon magic horses, with the new ones appearing on the best list and the old ones appearing on the worst. So now that we are all done reviewing the results, today I am going to go purchase the worst horse that you have all voted for, which in this case was the Akelteki. I actually don't have this breed either in its non-magic form or its magic form in Talion and Campos, so I have not experienced training this horse whatsoever. So in today's video, I'm going to go buy one of those horses. We are going to fully train it up, and at the end, I will let you know if it's worth getting these horses either at full price, bazaar price, or not at all. To New Hillcrest! Currently, the Akeltekis are available in the New Hillcrest stable shopping area, town center thing, in the middle section. It is known as the Golden Horse, with a sleek body evoking the cheetah, a fine coat that can take on a metallic sheen, and a lineage 3,000 years old. The Akelteki is without a doubt one of the most exotic and cherished horse breeds in the world. The Akelteki breed was honed by the nomadic tribes of Turkmenistan, who used the horse for raiding and needed a horse capable of enduring the harsh climates of the Karakum Desert. In the 19th century, Turkmen rode their horses in a valiant defense against the invading Russian soldiers. While the Turkmen could not stop the march of the Russian Empire, their amazing horses so impressed the Russian general that he created the first stud book and renamed the breed the Akelteki, after the Akal Oasis and the Teki tribe who lived there. Today, there are only around 6,000 Akeltekis in the world, mostly in Russia and their native Turkmenistan, where the horses are a national treasure. The Akelteki has a svelte body that is athletic without being overly muscular. Even more striking is the breed's fine coat, which combined with the cream gene, can result in an otherworldly metallic shimmer. The hair is so fine that most Akeltekis have little mane and no forelocks at all. Famous for its endurance, the Akalteki is an excellent all-round sport horse, competent at dressage, racing, and even show jumping. You can expect your Akalteki to be an alert and sensitive companion. Like the Arabian, the Akalteki is a hot-blooded breed uniquely suited for life in the desert. Whether you're looking for a partner to race over the rocky deserts or strut in the dressage arena, you'll be sure to stand out from the pack with the rare and majestic Akalteki. The golden horse is truly a horse to treasure. We're going to go over maybe some breed standards and take a look at the animations and all sorts of things in just a moment. As you know, I'm not an equestrian and I don't know everything about every single breed, but this is actually a really great opportunity to learn a little bit more about this breed and see how well Star Stable did. This breed is actually very versatile when it comes to coat colors, including it seems like all of the ones that we have here. They're fairly realistic, but I mean, with a horse that can have almost any color, it's kind of hard to miss the mark. One thing that I am noticing is that most of these horses don't have that many markings. This Palomino does have some sort of scaly dappling. This one also is fully dappled, but most of the other ones don't have very many markings. Though blazes and stars and reverse stars do seem to be quite popular with this breed. I love this marking. This kind of I think this is a reverse star to strip to snip to mouth marking. Just these thin line sort of blaze. Oh, it's also an interrupted stripe. I just think it's so dainty and so pretty. Though personally, I think I might go for this silver buckskin. I'm going to assume it's what it is. Champagne silver buckskin. I don't actually, I don't know my coat colors. It's a buttermilk buckskin. That's it. I think I'm going to go with this one. I really like the sheen that they put on these horses. We saw something similar with the new Andalusian that released this last week. The Champagne Carmelo coat also had a very special, unique, shiny texture only to that coat. But these horses all have that metallic sheen, which is a really nice touch, especially since it is so iconic for the breed. And as for mane styles, historically, these horses do not have forelocks or they have very short manes because their hair is so fine. Though Star Stable has given us options to add manes to these horses. Despite actually having the option to give them a mane, and honestly them looking pretty cute with a mane, I will stick to the standard breed characteristics and give them no mane. It also gives them a different tail, which is just so cute standard. Despite it, also being a little bit older, a little bit stiff. But it is more unique than the standard tail that we get for the Yorvik Warmblood, for example. It's also worth noting that this horse has a level restriction of level 13, and it is available for 850 star coins, so not as expensive as some of the later Gen 3s, but that is also evidenced by their lack of a special animation or special gait. Okay, go with me here. I'm naming this horse Skywalker with a nickname Tatooine because Sandy Planet, and they're from the desert. Oh, it changed the name. I almost just named it Bold Zoo. Tatooine is going to be an adult stallion and by horse. Yes. Oh, that's a little stretchy. Let's just level you up real quick to get your fast gallop. Whoa. And let's go do some research on what these horses are supposed to look like before we take a look at their gaits. Okay, so with some research done, let's check out these gaits. So what we're looking for an Akalteke is mostly some smoothness in the gaits. It looks like from the videos that I've seen, there's not a whole lot of movement in the whole sort of like back and midsection. They're generally a very smooth and dainty ride. Very even across all gaits. And it also might be worth checking out some of the horses from the similar generations, maybe even comparing them against the Jorvik Warmblood, because I'm not sure how many or how much of the animations are unique to this horse versus reused from other horses, since there was a time very early Gen 3 where a lot of the horses were very similar. Moving into the trot, this is absolutely something I can get behind for this horse in particular. There's not a whole lot of movement here. Not that it's stiff, the rest of the body is very gentle and very elegant. Now moving on to canter, this doesn't feel right. As far as the videos that I've seen, again, I'm not an expert on these horses, I'm not an expert on any horse really. This rocking up and down is not what I've seen a lot of Akaltekes do. In the videos that I've seen, it's still very straight across, even in the canter. The gallop also feels pretty good because we are getting back to that, not stiffness, but straightness in the gallop, with the legs doing more of the work. I would like more movement in the neck though, with as long as it is, which is also very standard for the breed. There should be more movement here. It shouldn't be like there's a rod just stuck in the neck. It should have some movement, some bobbing. In fact, it being so stiff just makes it look like they just stretched the neck more so than it's actually supposed to be that long. That's kind of like where I'm losing some of the realness, is just the stiffness in the neck. And then it's going to be very similar also for your fast gallop and your faster gallop. There's a little bit more movement, with that makes a little bit more sense. What I'm not liking, honestly, is the front legs. They, I don't know what it is about it. They just kind of look like they're not fully attached. I don't know if that makes any sense. And maybe it's just this bend here in particular that's just taking me a little bit out of it. On both sides, when you get this bend here and it kind of squishes into the body, I think that's just where you're losing me here. As for the rest of the body characteristics, the Akalteke has a very elongated neck, which we do see here. It should also be very narrow and thin. This is a very slender horse, as it is supposed to be. And while it's no taller than your standard height horse, it does have very long and slender legs, which I do also see here. And despite the length of the neck, the head is small, tightening in around the muzzle as well, which is also very standard for the breed. And we also have the very tall ears, which is another check mark. From what I've also seen on the pictures of this horse, they have a very pronounced like eyebrow ridge, and I also see that in the Jorvik version as well. And I mean, they're not technically called the Jorvik Akalteke, but I mean, with them being that cartoon early Gen 3 style, I mean, if they do eventually give us a more realistic Akalteke, I mean, this is going to be the Jorvik version. And despite this horse being more cartoony, less realistic, as opposed to like a real picture of a horse, I think that they do a good job resembling what this horse is supposed to look like. It's, again, you kind of got to take it all with a grain of salt because it is an older Gen 3. So it is still in that more cartoony style. I wanted to take a look at the wiki page to see what the timeline was for this horse, just to kind of get an idea of how old it actually is and what the updates have been since. So the horse was originally teased on May 16, 2019, with a release on May 22nd, 2019, so about a week later. A little less than a month later, 3 more versions were added to the game, giving them a total of 6. And then a 7th one was added in February of the next year to the Star Stable Horses app. At least until August 26, 2022, when the Black Akalteke was added to the Horses app. Finally, with both of those being added to the main game permanently on June 19, 2024, with the majority of the other app-exclusive horses. It doesn't look like there's been any timeline or information about these horses having ever been retrofit, so I'm not expecting to be able to wear a whole lot of tack with these horses. And speaking of, let's go try to do that now. Actually, just a quick other note on the animations. Some of the older Gen 3 horses do this, and it kind of also drives me nuts, but like the ankle bones of the horses just always look so much more prominent than they do in some of the newer horses. See if I can get a picture of it. I think this is kind of what I'm saying, where it almost looks like they're bending and stretching a lot here. Now, I don't know if that's actually accurate because, again, not an equestrian, but it just looks odd and like even like just very stiff in like the legs. Like they're just kind of like a little noodly, which is maybe just a testament to them being older. But I mean, if I'm being realistic here, a horse does not look like that typically. So I do have to take that into consideration. Okay, horse gear. So we know that they can wear the Gen 1 bridles. I'm pretty sure this is all they can probably wear. Maybe the bozal. All right, you can wear a bozal, but you can't wear either of like the slightly newer English bridles. So either like the standard Cavasson bridle with the D-ring, the flash noseband bridle, a drop noseband bridle. Those are all out for you. So ultimately, you're kind of stuck with the Gen 1 English bridles, the halters, and bozals. As far as saddle goes, you've got the old style. I don't know if this is the dressage saddle pad or a jumping saddle pad. It kind of looks like an old dressage saddle. There's also the older style jumping saddles. At the very least, luckily, they can wear the newer style jumping saddle, which is great because these are endurance horses, though they cannot wear the new style dressage saddles. And it does actually look like they can wear new and old Western saddles, which is nice. I'm guessing these just came out before the dressage saddles, but maybe I'm wrong. So basically anything older than the new dressage saddles. And for saddle pads, they can wear anything that the Gen 1s can wear. So these longer rounded and the square saddle pads they can wear. They just won't be able to wear these newer ones that are sort of like the universal style saddle pad. They won't be able to wear. A lot of these, I believe, are all those universal saddle pad styles. They cannot wear the newer dressage saddle pads or the newer jumping saddle pads. And obviously none of these shaped ones, either the Numna or the shaped jumping saddle pad. So again, very limited as far as what saddle pads they can wear. I think this is as unretrofit as you can get. As far as leg wraps go, they can wear the older style leg wraps, and they can also wear the open front boots, but they can't wear the newer style leg wraps, with this style icon, or any of the types of boots that have like bell boots or anything like that. Pretty sure everything else is standard. So we're gonna have our work cut out for us trying to work on a older style tack set for you. Okay, so I kind of want a little like black and gold monochrome for this horse. I feel like this saddle is like very much what I use for horses that really can't wear much because it's one of my favorite saddles. It's not that difficult to find the tack for this horse. It's just, you know, it's very limited, and I tend to buy more of the newer style tack anyway, so I just don't happen to have very much on hand. But anyways, I am going to go train this horse up. I will give you some of my thoughts along the way, let you know if anything comes up that's just a little annoying or a little off with this horse, and just give you my full review once we reach level 15. So overall, it did take me a couple of days to train this horse. And no, I didn't use any jars of wisdom. I wanted to make sure that I actually spent the full amount of time with this horse. And I have some notes and some things that I've noticed over the course of the last couple days training this horse. The legs are kind of awkward, I'm not gonna lie, especially when you go over the jumps. A lot of the older generation horses, and honestly, even some of the newer Gen 3 horses, sometimes struggle with weird jump animations. Usually this is more evidenced in the faster gallop and like the fast gallop and the gallop. Gallop's usually actually okay. Basically the 5th and 6th gaits, I think because those gaits are just technically like sped up, the animation for the jumps oftentimes feels rushed, and it doesn't always look like they hit the floor when they're landing. With the fast gallop in particular, the animation kind of cuts while they're in the air, and it just is not enjoyable when you're jumping with these horses, especially if you're doing races and all sorts of things where you are kind of expected to go as fast as possible. The fastest gait really should be, at least in my opinion, the most polished, but there's room for debate on that. So just in general, especially when you get to the faster gaits. The animations are very dated. There's not really anything you can do about that. These are just older horses, but you do have to consider when you're riding around a horse what the experience is like, and because they are so old, it's not that great. Furthermore, something that I noticed once they reached level 6 and beyond, that's kind of when you get like your first like stat boost for your horse, the Akalteke started sliding a lot and very noticeably. I even brought out my Hanoverian just to see what the difference is between the older horse like the Akalteke and the newer one like the Hanoverian that has beautiful gaits, beautiful jumps, and it really is night and day. And I think, not that I've necessarily pinpointed it, but this is what it feels like to me. For the older Gen 3 horses like the Akalteke, it feels like the rotation pivot point is more in the middle of the horse, whereas in a newer horse like Hanoverian, it feels like it's a little bit more forward. So it feels like the back legs are following the front legs with the Hanoverian, but with the Akalteke, it feels like they're just sliding along the ground and pivoting in the middle. You kind of also see this with the Gen 3 Jorvik starter pony. If you've noticed how you can rotate in the air when you're jumping, they rotate from the middle. And while this horse does not have the ability to rotate midair while jumping, you do still notice it when you are on the ground riding with them. I put together like a quick comparison course using the paddock props in Moorland just to kind of show you the difference between the Akalteke and the Hanoverian. I'm physically doing the same thing on my keyboard, but it just looks so much different with the two breeds. This sliding also is extremely bad when you're doing dressage, which these horses are also prized for dressage. I mean, they're mostly endurance horses, but they are used often in dressage. So, for them to also not look so great doing one of the things that they're supposed to look good at doing, not great. I described this as fishtailing in my notes, but yeah, basically after you reach level 6, you get your first stat increase for your horse. They are kind of excessively turning their back legs instead of just, you know, back legs following front legs like a train, you would think. Like, they have to follow along the same course. So overall, my thoughts on the Akalteke: are they worth getting? Probably not. At least not at full price. So currently, as of recording, their price is 850 star coins. They are an older generation 3 horse. They don't have a special gait. They don't have a special animation. They are dated as far as the animations that they do have. Personally, for me, as a lifetime star rider, if I had 850 star coins and I really wanted to buy a horse, I would honestly tell you to just wait a week to just get your weekly allowance star coins so you can afford a better, newer horse like the Andalusian, like the Hanoverian, like the Norker. The Norker is like amazing and a little underrated in my opinion. Heck, even for the same price, get a mule. Genuinely, I think that there just are better horses to get for 850 star coins. Maybe I can see an argument being made for buying them on Bazaar when they go discounted. Those prices usually change every time they go on discount, so if I can find the most recent price, it was this. Honestly, I think I'm putting the Akalteke in the don't bother list. I know it kind of sucks, but they're just, even on Bazaar, it's just not an enjoyable ride, even for 400 and something star coins. It's just, they could do better, and they have done better in the past. I would personally love to see it if they did a newer version of the Akalteke. It really is a historied horse. Some of the coats and pictures that I've seen actually look radiant, and it would just be so cool to see this so well done in this game with the attention that they've put on some of the more recent breeds, like the Andalusian. So maybe one day, Akalteke, you'll get a model in game that matches the majesty of your real-life counterpart. But that's not today. Well, anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video like this. I do try to cover every Wednesday update and more. This video was kind of fun. I liked getting your feedback and your thoughts on what you guys think the best and worst horses are. Let me know if you think that I should do this again, or if there's a specific breed that you would like me to highlight, learn a little bit more about, and tell you if they're worth getting in Star Stable or not. And I'll see you all in the next video. Say goodbye, Tatooine. Bye!